Okay, so in the tab there's a pickup note, which is not necessary. You could just go straight into it. The pickup note is useful for transitioning from the end of one section to the beginning of the next one. So if you want to play the pickup note, it's open G, and the melody in bar one goes like this. All right, now.
Cool. Yep,
Okay,
and I
now
think
note
now
about the
timing.
rhythmic feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as John sent me the tab over for this one, I did the criminal thing that I always do and just try and play it without ever having listened to the song. So I looked at the tab and I started playing bar one like this. And it was okay, I could sort of get around it. And then I watched John playing it and listened to the way he played it, and it didn't sound like that at all. So, John, do you want to explain about that?
Um, yeah, it's impossible to notate really because it's a swing feel. So you could have I could have notated it with the first note being a dotted and then the next notes being half as long again. I don't think that's terribly accurate, and nobody does it. Right? Nobody ever does it. It's just written out in straight eighth notes. But the swing feel is just a little bit longer on the first note and a little bit shorter on the next one. So instead of going, you're going to go like that all the way through. So it gives it a nice jaunty, swingy feel to it.
Cool.
Okay.
So, should we talk about the fingering on that first bar?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
How do you finger it?
So I'm barring at fret 7 with my index finger, and I'm using my second finger on fret 8 of the E string.
Okay, like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then when you transition down to the next one, what do? You slide the bar down.
Yeah, as I transition down, I slide down, and then I use my third finger on the 7th fret. So I switch from my second to my third finger.
Okay, that's a perfectly good way of doing it.
But it's not. You're going to say it's not the way that you're doing it. Is that right?
So I started playing it exactly the same way as you with the bar chord. Okay, but what you may have noticed, which happens to all of us on the ukulele, is that when you lift your fingers up, the note sounds. Does that happen to you sometimes?
Yeah,
And you don't want that note to sound.
I do get that quite a lot.
So I found that lifting the bar off to play the next one, I've got these strings ringing. There, so I've got open C and maybe the A ringing. I didn't want them to ring, so I decided to actually finger all of the notes like that. And because I've got quite small hands, especially when it comes to playing the tenor, I'm using my little finger on the first note, which is C, second string,
Okay.
8th fret. First finger on the note D, there, fourth string, 7th fret. And second finger, so my third finger is not doing anything at all. Yeah. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I can keep the same fingering and just spread them out as I move down.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
And also, then to avoid that sounding strings by lifting your fingers off, then the note A is already open there. I'm not touching the note A. Okay, so that moving into bar two. I've already got the note A ready to play.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the other thing is that it's not strictly Campanella what I did. It is a Campanella arrangement, but I've got this note from in the first bar from the note C, 8th fret, down to B on the 7th fret. It's not Campanella because I'm playing the two one after the other.
Yep.
Oops. All right. Now you could finger it another way, like that, but I found again transitioning to the next part makes it much more tricky. So sometimes you can't be too zealous about looking for the Campanella voicing. I just decided it would be better to hear that, with that swingy feel, to play the two notes together.
Yep.
And then I've got that nice Campanella where I've got all of those. The note A is ringing at the same time as the note before it, which was a B.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I was doing, sorry, while you were demonstrating, then I was just practicing my lifting my finger off the bottom using my bar, which is the way I've sort of learned it. Lifting my finger off, just so it doesn't make a noise. Actually, that is one instance where I don't tend to have too many problems. Weirdly, I find it makes more noise when I'm actually directly fretting a note and I lift it off. than if I'm just raising the bar
Oh, it
slightly.
happens all the time. Yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah. You know, and it could be what strings you're using. If it's hot and your hands are a bit sweaty, you know, all of those will contribute. But those noises you can't avoid. You can't avoid them.
The other thing is, the reason I've picked this ukulele today is I think this is the I have in concert that has the lowest action further up the neck, which is specifically to avoid that problem because it's accentuated by the high action that I have on my other uke.
So it's the Carlos nice to play, is it?
It's got a nice action. It hasn't got the best sound, but for playing this song, I found it easier to play this song on it.
Okay, good. All right. So that's bar one.
That was a long bar one.
15 to go. All right, but once you've listened to bar one, you know what's coming next. Okay, it's kind of predictable. Okay, because we're just moving down.
Yep.
And so bar two then just continues that moving down. All right, so now I've got a nice Campanella feel to it because I'm going to hold A open, second string 7th fret, and 4th string 5th fret. Back to the A again, right?
Yep.
That's it, and then down into the first position.
Yep.
Where I'm playing G, E, D, and E. All right, so let's just get it from the beginning. So from bar one, bar two, and that's it. That's it. Okay,
cool.
So you got that da 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 da. It's just rolling down the scale. Nothing really fancy at all.
Yep.
Okay, and then to finish that section, because even if I say it's a section of 8 bars, in fact it's the first section is 2 bars, pretty much the same, with a different ending. So now we're going to go into bar 3. Am I going too fast?
No, it's good. I'll shout up, but yeah, we're okay, I think.
Okay. So once we've done our little rundown, then to the end of bar 2, which is bar 3, then goes up to the note F on the 3rd string. So I'm playing the note on the 5th fret of the 3rd string so that I can play F and E together without cutting them. So we're going to do that. So F to E to F to A, and this time down to G. And I'm going to play F and E again, but the opposite way around. So F on the 1st fret of the 2nd string and E on the 4th fret. 4th fret of the 3rd string. Okay, and like that, I'm keeping the Campanella going. So let's just do that again. So bar 3. Okay.
Yeah, interestingly, I think we're fingering this completely different as well. So I'll just quickly
not reading
go through
my tabs. You're not reading my tabs.
So
why do I send them to you?
So I
just say, go away and learn it. Don't listen to me.
John is he depends on his little finger a lot more than I do. I often bypass mine. Although I did notice, so in bar 3, I'm using my 3rd finger on the 5th fret. And then I'm using my 1st and 4th finger, and I think you were using your 1st and 3rd finger to bridge that 1st to 4th.
Yeah. It just depends. It just depends how much effort I want to make. I'm lazy. I've got small hands and I'm lazy. I can do the stretch, no problem. That's not difficult for me. But sometimes, you just want to be there like that. And because I've got small hands and I want to have a nice, almost classical guitarist position where, my fingers are kind of parallel with the frets.
Basically, yeah.
But parallel with the frets, where you got little hands like me and I'm doing these stretches like that, I find that my hand is all out of, it's not in the right place. So I like to be like that. I really do play almost like a classical guitarist. And it also depends on what's coming up next. Do you need these fingers available for other things? So that's always something to take into consideration as well.
Cool. So that's
all right. So
bar 3. So that takes us into bar 4.
And bar 4, then we're heading into something that's really bluegrassy. So we've got some almost like a chromatic run. Yeah, we do, because now we're going to all right. So bar 4 then starts with the note D. We're going to play D, E, F, E, F, and then F, sharp. Okay, so we're going up chromatically. F sharp to G, so that's all chromatic. Then we skip a note and go to the A. And from A, again another chromatic run from A to B flat, or I should say A sharp, to C sharp here on the 4th fret. So the A sharp or the B flat, whatever you want to call it, is going to be played on the 2nd string, 6th fret, and the C sharp on the 4th string, 4th fret.
Yep.
All right. Now, just to go through that again. So this is how it sounds. Okay, so it's chromatic, it's jazzy, it sounds a little bit dissonant in a way. And here I've only got 2 frets apart, but I'm using my little finger.
And we are different in every bar on this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen to my logic. Okay. So my logic is that I started with my little finger. So when I get to this note here, then I want to move. I'm just going to slide it up, and I'm ready to start again. So here I'm going to go. So let's just start from bar 4 again. So I've got my little finger here, and then off we go again.
Okay. Yeah, I like the logic.
Back into that.
I like the logic. What I was just trying to do is to see
if I do then?
Well, I was trying to see if I had any logic to mine, because obviously I start with my 1st and 2nd finger, but no. So I meant it. So I play.
Well, show me how you do it.
Okay,
show me how you do it.
So this bar,
it doesn't, as long as it doesn't look too terrible.
So this bar, I start with my 2nd finger.
Yeah.
Then I'm between my 3rd and 2nd, and then as I walk up, I'm between fingers 1 and 3. So I end up there. I end up with 1 and 3. But obviously, as I'm moving back up to a repetition of bar 1, I'm just sliding up, and my 3rd finger's coming
sliding
up.
Sliding the bar. Yeah.
It's not too bad.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, I do think actually when I was first learning this was probably the bit that challenged me the most out of the first 4 bars, was actually getting out of bar 4 and back into effectively the first bar again, the repetition of the first bar. Yeah. It wasn't a big challenge. It was just probably the hardest bit so far.
Yeah, well, that's it. But it all makes sense to me. The way that you're doing it is fine. Maybe I should have done it like that. Again, I say this every time. That's why I don't put the fingering on the tab. People can, you should be able to work it out for yourself.
It's also like, there's just a comfort thing there, isn't there? Like, there's just to find what works.
I'm playing tenor. I've got little hands. I use my little finger a lot. You're playing concert. You've probably got big hands than me. So you can do whatever feels comfortable for you, and that's perfectly okay. Okay, technique is a means to an end. Okay, it's not the end in itself.
Cool. So that takes us into bar 5, which is exactly the same as bar 1. So there's no need to cover that. So we're going to
repeat. Yeah. So we just repeat again, and we have a different ending. And like I say, so it's section A is actually the same thing twice, but with 2 different endings. And so that takes us to, what's that? That's bar 5 and 6.
So 5 and 6 are direct repeats, and then 7 is a very slight variation.
That's right. Okay, so we're going to do the same. The first 4 notes, 8th notes are exactly the same. So from F to E to F to A, and the same G down to F. Okay, and again, this is what makes it bluegrass and not standard country old time. Is another little slide into a chromatic run. So I'm going to go D to D sharp and to E. Oops. And that's how it ends into bar 8. Yeah.
Cool.
No point doing Campanella there. The slide sounds much better. You can't play Campanella away because the notes are too low. But it just sounds so much nicer just to have that little slide. Okay, so don't pluck the notes, just slide into it. So let's just play that again. Bar 7. And ending on the note C, because we're in the key of C.
Cool. Yeah, we end
Very
up on that
bluesy.
C, and then if we're repeating that, we have that pickup note that we discussed right at the start again, just to lead you into the first bar.
Yeah, that's right. And I've got the pickup note as a G open. Play it through again, second time, and it does. I've got in the tab. I've got the pickup note this time as I've got it as a fretted note. It changes nothing. And the reason I've got it as a fretted note is that moving into the B part, then I'm going to strum an A minor chord.
Cool. So that we are now into the second section then, really.
We've covered enough for the first part.
Yeah, I think so.
That's okay.
Second section then.
Moving into the second section. Now I play this completely differently, the second section, because we've got some strummed chords, and also my picking technique changes.
Okay.
So we need to talk about that at some point.
Yeah. As has been the case all throughout the song, no doubt myself and John are going to play this completely differently as well. So that I don't actually know how John plays this. So let's find out.
Okay. Well, something that I've been curious about, and I'm not really. I haven't learned it properly, and I don't think I ever will, to be honest with you. But we're going to start with a downstroke on an A minor chord.
Yep.
Do it again. So we're going to have like a quarter note down, and then down again, and up on just on the A string. So I'm just plucking it out. So it's going to go, down, down, up. Okay, like that. And then I've got a little bend, not a full bend, just a little bend. So it sounds like.
I know how much you love bending the strings on the uke.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, right, can you hear that? So it's down, down, up, bend, and then hit pluck the note there, okay? Okay, now what I'm doing now is I'm actually starting to hit down with my index finger, with the nail of my index finger.
To pluck the actual...
To pluck, I'm plucking down like that. Okay, now that's a kind of what banjo players call a claw hammer technique.
Yep.
No, and it's a good technique to learn on the ukulele, although I haven't mastered it yet. Because you've got this G, you've got high G on reentrant tuning. When I'm strumming chords, I like to use my thumb to hit the. Now banjo players, because I think that sounds really nice, even if you're just in. Sounds really country and really nice, and it does emulate the sound of a banjo, because the banjo has a 5-string banjo that you hear in American music has a drone string. Okay, you notice that there's on a 5-string banjo there's a tuning peg here.
Yep.
And that's because it's a string that you never actually fret. You just play it as an open G all the time.
Okay.
So most of the country banjo music's in the key of C or G or E minor, because you've just got that note ringing all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, and the first banjo players, they used to use their thumb down to hit that note, and when they pluck the notes, they would only pluck down. So it's like this kind of like this claw shape that they would do. Okay, now bluegrass players then they decided to copy perhaps the guitarists by plucking up with their fingers and down with their thumbs. So bluegrass banjo players have a much more traditional sort of like Travis picking approach to their picking. But that was the original. And if you look at old time country music, especially banjo music, that was how it started, like that. And then you can do claw hammer on the guitar, on the ukulele, on any sort of fretted instrument. In fact, the first banjos didn't have any frets either, which gave them a completely different sounds to the metallic sounding banjos that you hear in modern country music. All right, so I wanted to change and mix it up a little bit. It changes the dynamic, because we've got our the first part of it is all sort of happy and bouncy, and then suddenly it goes into the minor chord. So I wanted to make that sound, more, I don't know, more banjo-like, but also to give it that different dynamic where it moves into a minor key.
Yep.
All right, and we've got these nice pull-offs as well. Bar 11
Bar
is
11
yeah.
would
Bar
work
11
very
has
well. Yeah.
Bar 11 has pull-offs. I think I played them as pull-offs, didn't I? You couldn't hear them as pull-offs.
I could. Well, to be honest with you, I listened to you play this for about 3 bars, and then I got the time, and I was like, "Oh, it's fine. I'm just going to do it myself now."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you could have played it.
Yeah. Okay.
So in bar 11 then, so bar 10 goes and bar 11. All right, so I'm plucking just down once with my index finger and pulling up. Now, if you wanted to, you could have done it Campanella, and you could have gone and pull off there, just pull off there. So you could have gone, G open, E open, and then D fretted and pull off. But I just wanted to change it and mix it up a little bit. All right, and you can see when I'm strumming, I do a full strum, half strum, upstroke. My upstroke in the tab is just one note, but if you miss and play all the notes,
it doesn't matter. Yeah,
makes no difference because you're strumming around the chord.
So as I started learning this, I think I was tending to use thumbs for down strums.
Yeah.
And I was just plucking it normally. And I've actually transitioned probably over the last day and a half to doing a little bit of that, but also doing a little bit of what you're saying, actually picking the notes or hitting the notes with the nail of my index finger on the down. So I'm not completely playing like you, but I've got a bit of a mix going on.
Well, I think because you're getting the feel for the tune, and that
probably that's probably true. Yeah,
look, you got the tab from me. I made a mistake. I forgot to put the pull-ups on the tab.
Well, that's good though, because like that bar 11, so the end of bar 11, which is a 3-0-2-0, that's probably I've done this in the past many times, like where I will see a tab that's written like that, and I'll just end up playing it as pull-offs, even though it's maybe not in the tab like that, just because it's just easy to do. It's easier to do that there, really, especially if you're running at any pace.
Yeah. So let's just run through bars 10, 11. We're going to bars 12 and 13. All right, and as I say, when I fret the note G here, I'm just bending up just a little bit up to, so it just transitions into the next one again. All right, that's bar 12. Do the same again in bar 13, and then stop on the note G. All right, so it's going to be 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going up chromatically again. I'm going to A to A sharp to C sharp, playing that twice. Okay, so that's 6th fret here and 4th fret, so 6th fret on the 2nd string. All right, so that's if I played it all on one string, you'd be going A sharp. To B, sorry, I said, what did I say before? I said C sharp, so it's B. So just 3 frets apart.
Okay, yep.
So I'm doing it the Campanella way. So I switch back to Campanella. And up to the note A. And then, like the section A, we're just going to repeat. So like the A parts, the last 4 bars are just the repetition of the first 4 bars with a different ending. Okay, so we're going to do the same again. And this time, instead of going down from G, E, D, E, I'm going to come back up. So I'm going to go down, G, E, to D, back up to E. That's right. And it's the same ending as the A section, the same ending. And
cool.
You've done it. Okay, so the tricky part in that one then is just to switch to this.
Yeah, it's that bar. It's that end of bar 12 into bar 13. It's that switch, out of that more gritty style playing back into Campanella, and then back out of it again.
Yeah, that's right.